And now, Effective Communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
Have you met the person who wants to be wrong? You know, the person who always wants to say or do the wrong thing? Probably not, right? I posted something the other week on Facebook, and one of my cousins reached out to me and said, hey, I got a situation I'm going through. And he said, you know, I'm trying to understand what you're saying about not telling people they're wrong. But sometimes, you know, people just do things, and you got to tell them. You got to tell them. And he goes, let me give you an example. He said he lives in Chicago, and he said, picture this. You're in a carpool with a group of people, and you're sitting in the front passenger seat, and somebody's driving the car, and they're on their phone. And you're thinking, this isn't safe. I'm going to get hurt. This person's going to get in an accident because they're on their phone. They're not paying attention to the road. So in that situation, wouldn't you just tell them, hey, put the phone away and drive. It's the law, and I said so. And I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And if you do that, what's going to ensue? Well, then there's going to be an argument. You're going to go back and forth. And he said, yeah, and probably what will happen is that you'll have to make a choice. Are you out of the carpool when they're driving because they're not going to let you in their car anymore because they don't like you, because you have made judgment call on who they are and how they do things? Or do you just sit there and be quiet and get in an accident and get killed, and then what happens? And I said, well, you know, those are different outcomes you could have. Or you could try this. Instead of telling the person they're wrong, you could turn to them and say, hey, is your safety important to you and you being safe in life? And they're going to say, yeah. Say, great, I agree with you. So I feel the exact same way. How cool is that? Why don't you pass me your phone and let me look up anything you need right now, and I'll take care of it so you can make sure that you're safe and I'm safe and we're going to get to where we want to go. How cool is that? What would you like me to do on the phone? How quick was that? How easy was that? You see, in life, we sit here and we think we have to tell people they're wrong. No, we don't. No, we don't have to tell anybody they're wrong. We have to coach them to be right. We have to think about the outcome. We have to use our intellect and say, what are we really trying to get? In this case, my cousin really just wanted everybody in the car to be safe and no accidents to occur. Well, how do you get that outcome quickly with another human being in communication? The way you do that is you coach them to be right. You bring it back to something of importance to them and focus on something that they can do versus something they can't do. So in this situation, he sent me back a note and he goes, I get it. That makes sense. Because the other situation would have gotten you in a long argument with somebody, a long disagreement, and people will try to use any logic they can to justify what they're doing. And that's just what human beings do. We know this. You've experienced this. So stop putting yourself in a situation where you're wasting your time. And we've talked about the value of time on the show before. And we talked about effective communications, what the show's all about. Mr. Carnegie said, show respect for the other person's opinion. Never say you're wrong. And the simple reason to do that is because human beings don't want to be wrong. They don't want to be wrong. So if you're going to try to convince them that you're right and they're wrong, good luck with that. You're going to spend a lot of valuable time just churning and churning and churning, and not much is going to get accomplished. But when you can appeal to something that makes sense to them, makes sense to you, that gets that outcome where you all want to go, this is when we're coaching people. So a lot of times it used to be called constructive criticism. People say, well, do you still give constructive criticism? And I always say, well, who's it constructive to? If it's constructive to the person has asked you to give them that, then it's obviously constructive to them, and therefore they're going to accept it. If you choose just to give them criticism because you believe it's constructive, they obviously don't understand the value of why it's constructive to them, because you're making an assumption that they would believe that it's constructive to them. And most people don't jump to your assumptions that you have for them. What they do is they get defensive, they get upset, they get angry, and then it turns into an argument, and again, we lose all that time. So as you think of any situation you're going through right now, remember, people don't do things to be wrong. They want to be right. And your challenge is to coach people to be right. So in that situation you're faced with today, ask yourself, what can I say or what can I do to get this person to see that they're going to have a better outcome if they do this? And then ask yourself, if you're in their shoes, what would that be? What would that look like? So as you coach people to be right in your life, what you're going to find is that you're going to have better relationships. They're going to be deeper. Your communication value is going to go way up. Now go make it happen. Help those people to be successful.